Welcome to Breakthrough Barriers with Damali. I am your host, Damali Peterman. On this podcast, we look into a new theme for this season, resilience. We want to know how has resilience helped our guests and me get through the pandemic and break through. Welcome to the show. I am so delighted to have on today's episode, Assuanta Howard. Assuanta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Damali. It's a
Oh, the
pleasure to
pleasure
see
is
you.
always delightful to see you, and the pleasure is certainly mine. Assuanta Howard serves as the Interim Assistant Dean of Business Services and Workforce Development, as well as the Executive Director of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program located at LaGuardia Community College. Ms. Howard has worked for over 20 years in the City University of New York system within the Division of Adult and Continuing Education. Ms. Howard was the Director of Continuing Education at Clayton State University, located in Morrow, Georgia, and was a Director of Corporate Education and Workforce Development at the City College of New York. Ms. Howard is a published author of several books. She has a Master of Science degree in Adult Education and Human Resources Development from Fordham University. Let me tell you, Assuanta, there are a lot of directors. Director, excellent. The top of the top position you can acquire in all of these programs and universities. And frankly, you do have an amazing resume. You have a refreshing approach to educating business owners that are early in their growth and development stages. You also are an entrepreneur yourself. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I just want to point out that you talk the talk and walk the walk. And I'm just delighted to have you here today because now more than ever, and it's always been entrepreneurs and small businesses that have fueled the economy. But now more than ever, when people are looking for some consistency and thinking of a new way to define themselves and to pivot, entrepreneurship is on the table for people who probably didn't think of it before. So you have more entrepreneurs kind of showing up and let's say showing out. So welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you, Damali. It is again a pleasure. And entrepreneurship is just in my blood. I was told, I guess I must have been about 14 or 15 years old. My uncle reminded me, he said, I told him that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I consider myself an entrepreneur, but I'm also an educator first. And so the two married with me running or overseeing the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program.
Well, what's amazing about that, and I can tell that entrepreneurship is in your blood. And what's amazing about you kind of from age of 13 or 14, declaring that you're going to be an entrepreneur, and then actually not only becoming an entrepreneur, but being so devoted and committed to helping thousands of entrepreneurs develop their skill set and take whatever they're passionate about and learn how to apply processes to help them to not just help them to kind of ensure their success, right? And I always like to tell people how I met my guests. And I was lucky enough to be in a cohort of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program under your director. And I learned so much, not only from the program, but also from my fellow entrepreneurs and leaders like you who are leading the program and also had your own successful businesses. Because to me, that's that shows me that you had a choice when you woke up. You had to decide, you chose to not only run and operate your businesses, but also to be committed to all of us who showed up every day. And even in the pandemic, you continue to provide leadership and guidance, connecting with entrepreneurs, and working on launching a new program to help students from underrepresented communities kind of bridge the gap and have for many of them, their first internship with entrepreneurs who are in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And so you keep taking it to the next level, Assuanta. Like just every time you go to the top, and then you say, okay, there's more space and there's more that I can do. And one of the things that you said to me before is that you receive inspiration from others, that from people and seeing them grow and develop and succeed. and that you want to inspire others. And I love this two-way flow of just, being having an impact on this world, while you're here and you're doing it. And so
Yeah.
I just can't wait for people to hear more about you, to learn about what you do, how you got here, how you tap into your resilience. So I really look forward to our conversation. We're focusing on the theme of resilience as it relates to conflict, and how your company, your industry have navigated the last 18 months. And the goal is to encourage and inspire our listeners to continue to break through. And you and I have a rapport with each other, so our
Yes.
listeners will kind of feel like they're eavesdropping on a private chat between two friends. And so I think they're in for a treat today. So, Asanta, I would love for you to tell people what you want them to know about you. I mean, I've been talking about you and sharing some of the highlights, but how would you describe yourself in 6 words?
Ooh, in 6 words. So I'm an educator first. That's the first thing. I'm an entrepreneur. Um, how do you say it? You say 6 words. I have so many words, I guess, that will describe me. I'm ambitious. I'm passionate. I'm humble. That might be more than 6 words. I'm inspired, by other people. But if I were to say one of my biggest mottos or quotes is get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? Because life is a journey. You're going to have peaks and valleys, but never give up on your dreams, never give up on your goals. Know that, the saying, the sky is the limit. No, the sky is not the limit. It's limitless. And so, as you mentioned, I keep going up and up because I don't see that ceiling. There's something beyond the sky. So it's more than 6 words. I'm a little rebel, so I go a little bit out.
But we needed all of that. And I love that. You definitely are a leader, you're a visionary. I like at the end you even got in rebel. Yeah. So you also have a great quote that I think people should hear again: get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I mean, there are a lot of uncomfortable things that have happened, over the
Absolutely.
past, I would say several years, but definitely the last couple of years. Um, and there are many things that we'll dive into during this conversation, but I would love to know a little bit more about, like, how did you get here? Why are you in the field that you're in? And how did you get here?
Whew, goodness, I stumbled into this field. I started as a literacy instructor, you know, at Bronx Community College and another nonprofit organization. I can't remember the name now. And I taught people how to read in the community. But this nonprofit organization, I was teaching people how to, like, teaching them the alphabet. And one of the ways that I was teaching people was through their own stories, right? So you learn to write by writing your stories. Lo and behold, I ended up being a publisher, right? I didn't know that at the time. I was putting together, computers weren't even out yet, and people were writing their stories. They were, taking pictures for magazines. But I felt like you could teach yourself through your own stories. Being a lover of reading, a lover of writing materials, it was a natural fit, for me to teach others. And then I found that because entrepreneurship is in my blood, I would also insert, well, what kind of business would you like to start? Or you can turn that into a business. You're a great cook. So I started by being an educator first, and then worked my way up through CUNY. And someone took an interest in me. I wasn't, I wouldn't say that I was ambitious. I didn't know what it was. I was just doing what I was called to do, and that was do good work, right? I come from, integrity, good ethics, but someone saw me and mentored me without me even knowing I was being mentored. And so I just followed the natural progression, and then I ended up here.
Wow. So from literacy educator to wow, like helping people to learn how to read and write by using their own stories. That is so deep because I can just totally see how just thinking about their story could inspire them and motivate them to want to share it and write it and read it. And then actually taking that sort of approach to tapping into people's passions, right? Because that's kind of what it is. Whatever they were talking about, sharing their story, they were passionate about it. And then sort of seeing what other people were passionate about, whether it was cooking or whatever the case may be, and kind of combining that or connecting that, opening up another pathway for them, actually, to say, turn that into a business, capitalize on that, take it to the next level. Going back to something you said before, there are no ceilings for you. The sky was limitless. So you were actually doing that for other people, kind of showing them other opportunities that maybe they didn't think about, and mentoring them, similar to the way that you were mentored. Uh, and it's funny that you said, you weren't ambitious. You think secretly or unconsciously or subconsciously, there's the ambition must have been there. And at
Yes.
some point, the vocabulary came along with it,
Yes.
because there's the way that all these directors in your title.
Exactly. Exactly. It was like, you're ambitious.
You're ambitious. You don't wake up as a director. Wow. For ambitious or not, everything that happened over the last 18 months, everything was unpredictable. No one saw coronavirus coming. And we still aren't completely out of it, right? I
Right.
mean, we don't really know where we're going. I keep hearing the word used post-pandemic a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we're still in the midst of it. And so I'm just curious to know, and I think you're going to love this question. What was your single biggest challenge in running your business or working in your industry throughout the pandemic?
The biggest challenge, and I'll speak from the 10,000 Small Businesses program, was moving from an in person to immediately providing it remote, right? And so we were in cohort 30 at the time. And I think we went up to to mod 3, which is money and metrics. That was the last class in person, to then abruptly life changed, right? And it changed for the team personally, and it changed for the business owners, right? We are dealing with, this pandemic, but didn't really know what it was, right? So there was the fear, but at the same token, we had to be there. And the cohort members at that time, they wanted us to stop. They didn't want to come in. And I talked to the people, Babson, and said to them, look, they want us to condense the schedule. They don't want us to do it this new way, right? But he said, gave me the option: either you stop it, and defer it to the next time, or or what? And I said, well, you know what? They need us. They need us during this time. As challenging as it is for us, it's even more challenging, for them. See, I have a job, right? These folks, what's going to happen to my business? What's going to happen to my family? People were getting sick. People were leaving this earth, right? So pivoting through the challenge, and I guess steering the team in a way, being there for the team to give them the strength to continue, and be there for the business owners that also needed us. So that was a challenging moment, but we ended up, doing 3 more cohorts remotely, and we mastered it. What scholars experience in person, they experienced in the remote setting, that same feeling of being a family. That's how I run any business: is you are family. So I think that would be the most recent challenge that we were able to pivot and to successfully navigate the boat through.
You were able to pivot successfully navigate the boat through while also simultaneously, each cohort has about what, 30
30,
businesses,
35, almost 40.
35 or so. And so
Exactly.
it sounds like you had four cohorts over the course of the last 18 months or so, including
Yeah.
one that was actually in session during
Yes.
the beginning of the pandemic. So you were navigating over 100 boats at the same time, giving people assurance. I
Yes.
just don't want to downplay the significance. And these are, I mean, most of these entrepreneurs, if not all of them, have they have employees, not just families. They have employees. The laws were changing and aid and funding was becoming available. And so they had to figure out real time whether they were eligible to apply for help. They had to figure out real time. You said that during the cohort that was in session, you were in the money and metrics segment module, which I remember that module, even though it was a few years ago. And I mean, every module at that point in time must have been like life or death, essentially.
Right.
You know, they're just thinking about it with a whole new perspective on the importance of understanding your everything about everything about your business. You know, where you're allocating your resources, who's helping you manage, you know, your operations, bookkeeping, accounting, you know, what are your contracts say? Like everything that was happening in the program was also happening in the midst of this pandemic. And your commitment to not only going to the remote environment, but being there during these turbulent times to help all of those entrepreneurs is unparalleled. And I don't want to downplay how amazing that was, because it would have been a lot easier to just
Yes.
say, yeah, let's just shut it down and wait out the storm and
Yeah.
we'll figure this out later. But it took more courage, more effort, more devotion and dedication and ambition to kind of navigate all of these things, not only, you know, as the university was figuring out what to do with the students and in person, but for hundreds of business owners um, at the same time. And so you just, again, you're just such a breath of fresh air, Assuanta, because I'm going to say it. You are incredible. You are a Black woman. You are director of everything. And you are, as you continue to climb and ascend, you bring everyone with you, you
Absolutely.
know, and you're reaching in every direction.
Yes.
And I just think it's amazing. I mean, we need to nominate you for all the awards, all of the awards.
It's important for me, and that is, one of my, I believe it's a gift, is to be able to bring people along with me,
Yeah.
because I didn't get here by myself. And I believe I had an opportunity, and my goal is to make sure that everyone that's within my reach and even beyond my reach has an opportunity.
Wow. It's amazing. You know, not just for small business owners, but also for the students at LaGuardia who now have an opportunity to uh, to work with business owners and sort of jumpstart their internships and perhaps their careers if
Right.
they enjoy what they're doing. And there's a mutual benefit to both the business owner and the student. And like that Elton John song, you, Asanta, are still standing. So I'd love to know where your resilience comes from and how do you tap into it?
God, right? The sun rises without me, the sun sets without me. And I believe I'm a messenger, and so everything that I do is through him, her. That's where it comes from. And I'm blessed enough to have parents who are able to, because they still navigate, and guide me, through my life. But my inspiration and my gifts come from God.
Wow. And you are an inspiration and a gift. And Asanta, you know, you told me this and I want you to share it with others. What does your name mean?
It means ascension.
Talking about the right name. That's why there are no limits. Because your name
Absolutely.
means ascension.
And I'm
That's
the
why there are no
only
women.
one in my family that has this name. My sister is Kim Lorraine Douglas.
And then you were born and they were like, Assuanta.
And that's not a coincidence, right? So, yes.
Wow. So I know that your name means ascension and you have been ascending. And sometimes we have, as we talked about this a little bit earlier before we started recording, that in life there are peaks and valleys, right? And so, in with the view of helping people to avoid mistakes where they can, was there any mistake that you made that you want to prevent others from making?
So, and I'll share this is probably a little personal, but I'm pretty open. In I guess it was January 2020, I had a stroke, right? Because I am superwoman. I did not recognize, or I shouldn't say I didn't recognize, I didn't accept that something was going on because that week was a crazy week for me. I came down what I thought was a cold, but I think it was COVID. And I was taking Theraflu because I had to interview new businesses, and Assaunta could not miss work. Absolutely not. And so I was drinking Theraflu like it was water. Found out later that that's the worst medicine you can take if you have COVID. But who knew it was COVID? And the biggest mistake is that I didn't stop, right? I should have gone to the doctor. I should have stayed home. I shouldn't think I'm not a superwoman. I'm not a robot. So I would say that would be my biggest mistake is not putting my health first, right? Not paying attention to taking time off. I will push myself to the absolute limit. The crazy and I would say funny, but it's not funny, is, when I finally went to the hospital, it was on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. The stroke happened Friday. So I didn't go until Monday to the hospital because I said, you know what? If I can't write my name, Damali, I can't write my name. And I tried to write my name and I couldn't, right? That's a problem, So that's a mistake because I'm not paying attention or I'm not wanting to accept that there's something wrong because I'm superhuman. But guess what? God said you are not superhuman. Sit your tail down. You got to get it together. So, if I can, leave anything with anyone is to take the time to put yourself first. You can't be all things, to everyone. I'm blessed that it was very small because it could have been worse. And even now I have to try not to push myself. Sometimes I still do, because it's part of my makeup. But then I say, Asante, you remember, you're not superwoman. You're not a robot. You got to take the time to smell the roses and take care of yourself first.
That is exactly what I think everyone listening needs to hear. That even if your name means ascension, and that there are limits to what you can do, not in terms of ambition, but that your body is your vessel. And that, I mean, what you said though is that you weren't just doing your own thing. You had to show up for business owners. You had to show up to help them determine whether they should be a part of the program. And so you put others before yourself, which I guess is selfless and amazing. And it's very godlike, Asanta. And from that, the lesson learned, because, I feel like the word mistake can sometimes be triggering. People are like, oh, mistakes. No, it's such a harsh word and it has a negative orientation for some. But I think the lesson learned is exactly what you said. You aren't superhuman, even though, I mean, let's face it, you are pretty amazing and as close to superhuman as we can have on this earth. And self-care is important. And if you don't take care of yourself or put yourself first more often, right, then sometimes the body will just say, okay, 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 you're not getting the message. Okay, you won't ascend today because if you can't write Assuanta, no ascension's gonna happen.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm happy you shared that, Asanta, because I think another part of it is that people don't always show when there's something wrong. You only see the superhuman side. You only see all the successes. And I think it's important to show that sometimes if you don't stop to smell the roses, if you don't take some time off, if you don't reset, then you can't be all those things that we need you to be and that you want to be to inspire others and mentor and motivate others. And I can't even imagine like not being able to call you or text you or email you, or see that amazing smile and know that everything's going to be okay. And so I'm happy that you are doing fine. You look amazing. So I'm happy
Thank
that
you.
you're feeling well. I had the chance to see you a couple of last week,
Yeah,
actually,
last
last
week.
week as we, both took the stage for a huge, amazing initiative with Goldman Sachs and LaGuardia Community College, and the 10,000 Small Business Program, and we shared the stage with some amazing people. And so I'm happy to know that you're doing well. And you just
Thank you.
left a great lesson for everyone, even myself, to just realize we're human, and that humanness is something that we have to take care of, have to protect ourselves and take a break. And my mom used to always say when I was little, each one teach one. And so another lesson or gift that I would love for you to share with our listeners today is a suggestion for a book or song or a course or program that they can take to continue to grow.
I thought, I'm thinking about that question, and one of my favorite books is a children's book, and it's The Little Engine That Could. My mother read that book over and over and over to me because it was about never giving up. Right. And so a source of inspiration for me is when I think about that book. I've read that book even as an adult, as needed, because sometimes you feel like giving up. You know, like you said, my name means ascension. I never want to give up, but sometimes you do, because remember, we're not superwomen. So the little red engine, that could is an inspirational book, and one that I like to always tell people to read. Remember who you are at your core, right? When we're children, we're innocent, right? We have tons of ambition, right? Tons, the sky is limitless. It's only when we go through a school system or through our family dynamics and we meet other people that we are told that the sky is the limit. Right. So if we can just step back and remember when we were once a child, close your eyes, think about the little red engine, a little engine that could, then we can remember that we can do, anything, and we don't have to give up.
Wow, I can't think of a better way to end our show than with that message in those words. Remember the little engine that could. Close your eyes and remember that you can do and you can be everything, anything, and that you should never give up. Asanta, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. Wow. Wow.
Thank you, Damali. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, likewise. But see, now I'm sharing you with the masses. And now it's not just, the business owners and the students that are going to have access to your jewels and gems. It's going to be everyone who's tuning in today. And so I'd like to thank the audience for tuning in. I'm your host, Damali Peterman, and this is Breakthrough Barriers with Damali. Continue to break through and have a wonderful day. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Breakthrough ADR. That's the @ BREAKTHROUGH, capital A, capital D, capital R. I'm your host, Damali Peterman, and this is Breakthrough Barriers with Damali. Although I am a lawyer, mediator, and an educator, and many of my co-hosts will represent various professions, we want to be clear that we are not providing legal advice,
counseling, or suggestions. Our goal is to provide a roadmap for conflict resolution to generate future conflict resolvers. Continue to break through and have a wonderful day.